June in the Bay Area is a great time to do propagation of perennials. Things have really begun to happen. The lavenders and most of our geranthemums are all growing actively. So it's an excellent time to take pieces of those plants, bring them inside the greenhouse, and strike them in flats so that we can make more plants out of the ones we have. Whether it's to increase our garden size, share plants with other gardeners, or make a profit as a nurseryman. It's a practice that I think really all gardeners should dabble in, at least if they really wish to call themselves a gardener, is increasing the plants they have by cuttings. Right over here, these little plugs are called ready plugs. They're made from a sponge combination of peat moss. Now, this is a commercial product, and it's not generally available in most of your nurseries. I actually had to have them shipped in here from Watsonville. I like them. They're real handy and easy to use. You see how they fit in their special little trays over here just by pressing them in. They have a tiny hole in the end of each one of the plugs. And you can see right over here I've got blueberry cuttings that have been struck. There's some salvia cuttings that were struck in these plugs earlier, and there's even a little bit of blue fescue grass right there tucked inside the plugs. They're real easy to use. Now, there are alternatives to that. We don't have to use this type of an approach. I do it because it's quick and easy. But over here in these flats, I have cuttings of Salvia greggii and some hens and chicks and such going on over here. And here I'm using a mixture of milled sphagnum peat moss combined with perlite and vermiculite. That works equally as well as using the quick plugs over here. It's just that the quick plugs are so much easier if you got a bunch of work you want to do. And in my case, I'm thinking about probably striking myself 3 or 4 dozen lavender cuttings, so this is just a whole lot faster. I have some plugs over on this side of the greenhouse that should be starting to root already. Here we see you've got the centipede plant from the Solomon Islands going. There's some fuchsia timifolias right here. It's excellent evergreen fuchsia for the area. Here we've got the flowering maples or abutilons. All of these plants started off as just little stems that were cut from the mother plants. Here's a whole group of succulents in the flats. Right back here, I think everybody's going to recognize this one. These are the chrysanthemum. Now this is really a real easy plant to get roots out of. All I did was about 3 weeks ago, I took cuttings off the chrysanthemums in my garden. I went ahead, stripped the leaves off the bottom half of the cutting, put a little rooting hormone there onto the bottom end, and stuck them in the plugs in the greenhouse and kept them watered. Now you see the roots are already beginning to push out of those. That one's doing pretty well. Here, this guy right here, he's even doing better. He's got a little bit more root coming out. Even if you don't need the cuttings, it's good practice and it's just a whole lot of fun. Now, I'm going to take us out of the greenhouse here in a minute, and we'll go out into the field, take a look at some of the lavenders that I want to sample for cutting. Here we are out in the lavender garden. Over here on this side, there's some Munstead lavender. It's just about top bloom at the moment. Right out front here is Hidcote. Over in this area, we've got some Provence lavender growing. That's the tall flowering French perfume type. And then over here I've got one of my favorites. This is Grosso, and it's actually one of the reasons that I'm coming out here at the moment to do propagation. I can't seem to find much Grosso in the nurseries because it's a bit slow to flower, and the growers and the customers usually like the ones that flower quicker. The Grosso, though, is really nice lavender because its winter color, the silver of the leaves, the quality of the plant in the wintertime is really strong. The bush itself is short, and it comes to bloom after the others. And so once my Munstead is all crunchy and I got to shear it back, and when the Provence over here is finished, I'll still have Grosso to help me finish the season up over here. Now I've got my basket over here, and now a real man who's a gardener always carries a wicker basket around with him. My pruning shears is pretty much all the tools you're going to need other than your hands and eyes in order to select some lavender for cuttings. Right down here inside the plant, I'm looking at stems that have bloomed that are coming over the path. I think that's really how I'm going to make my decisions here, is we're going to whittle back the plant in the areas where I don't need it. And so I just take the shears here, reach inside, and try to cut fairly deeply so I can get some pretty good sized stems to work with, instead of trying to work with flower stalks, which don't work too well for the cuttings. Give me something that I can play with once we get back into the greenhouse. Here we are back inside the greenhouse. Now, in the meantime, I've taken the cuttings of the lavender and I prepared them by cutting them into pieces about the size of matchsticks. I've selected for my cuttings, maybe about 4 inches long or so, something in that area. I've tried to choose them so they've got a little heel of the harder tissue on the bottom, as we call a heel of hardwood, and soft on the top. And that usually makes for a better cutting. It's not going to wilt because it isn't all supple. On this side of the flat over here, I've done the same thing to the Provence. And so I've got my Provence on one side, I got my Grosso over there on the other side. Now I'm using the tips of the shoots, and so it's easy to tell which way's up, which way's down. When you're making cuttings and you're cutting out of the middle of stems, make sure that you cut them so you know which way is up. Typically you can cut the top end flat, the bottom end pointed. Works so when you lay them down later on, you strike them the right way. If you strike them upside down, most things don't usually grow very well. Now I'm taking my cutting of Grosso lavender over here, and I'm going to dunk it into my rooting hormone so I get a little bit of powder on the bottom of the cutting. And then I'm just going to take it over here, get to my quick plug, find the hole in the center, and shove that thing down tight in there. And that's one reason I really like these things. They're really, really easy to use. We can go through and do an awful lot of lavender cuttings very quickly. Now, I'm going to eventually put tags on these cuttings, but for the meantime, I have the Provence on one side of my tray, and I've got the Grosso on the other side of the tray. I'm going to strike the Provence in the greenhouse on the opposite side of the room so that I don't get them mixed up, even if my tags fall apart or get lost. And just about quick as you please here, I've got myself a nice row of lavender growing in the flat. These I think are 6 across. There we go. Got a half dozen cuttings of Grosso. I'm going to go ahead and take my garden hose, soak them down real good as soon as I'm finished here. Striking lavender cuttings in Bill's garden.